Here's Shay Ecru. I'm here on Sound Advice with producer, vocalist, rapper Shay Ecru. I've just been blasting your new record On My Way, and it's such a vibe. I was really curious to know, how long did that album take you to put together? And was there anything that you did along the way to like keep yourself in a mood or in a vibe on these tracks?
So that project has a few songs that I've worked on since maybe early 2024. I have a lot of stuff I've had been worked on for like, again, over a year. I was kind of afraid to drop music. And when I released through the streaming services, other than SoundCloud, it's a very like one and done. It's official, no advice, opinions accepted. It's just there. Releasing on SoundCloud gave me like the space to just put my ideas up and see how they were received. Because those songs I were holding on for a year for, I was like super squeamish about the reception. So luckily, when I did put them out, they received great. Some of them were done the night of, and I just released it in the morning.
It's really interesting to me that you say that you were like unsure or squeamish about the reception, because I feel like those songs are so lovable. But what did you feel like those songs were in a different direction, or why did you think that maybe they would be received differently?
I think I just do it to myself on like some paralysis stuff. From having to deal with all aspects of the creation process, there's so many things to be critical about. And it's a hard thing to try to tell yourself which things to not be too critical about. So I kind of just made it a global rule now. Once I start to like dislike in any form, fashion, I'm just like, you know what? It's time for it to go. I need to let it be. The verse I thought I was going to write that was amazing is not going to happen today. So it's going to be the next one. And for now, we're just going to let it get out there, you know?
I was really curious, actually, when you learned how to produce, if you feel like that has changed your vocals at all, or the way that you write songs or put songs together.
It definitely does. I guess that's the crazy thing about producing and writing, right? Usually I think it's the job of the artist and like the engineer to like somehow section and like put the song together. But now it's to a point where, again, if I have that paralysis where I just, I'm only working for one night and I only have so much work to choose from, I'll basically take what I did that night and then copy different things and just clean it up in post, basically. And then just make a hook out of a verse, maybe repeat things. So that comes into like the manipulation of how a song comes together sometimes. But most of the time, I really write hooks the easiest. The verses are the hardest part. But yeah, being able to produce, I can just take my lyrics and put them where I want to put them. I can just like jumble up the song. And yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it. Even adding like some reverb in parts where I don't know the words, you know, and just make a tail, have that cover all the 3 seconds that I'm lacking words for. Having that ability definitely changes the writing a lot. I work alone a lot, and I feel like if I didn't have the process I've had for these years, it would have slowed me down a lot more when I was already being consistent. I basically go from the production hat to the writing hat to the engineering hat to the mixing hat. Then I finally take it off and give it to my guy who does the mastering.
How do you use SoundCloud as like a sketch pad or a way to work with songs when they're still in different versions, or like demo takes, or, you know, version 1, version 20? Like, how does SoundCloud play into that process?
I think SoundCloud gets rid of my demoitis. Something I come across a lot is like having 2 different versions of a song. Once I give that version out and somebody's heard it and they fell in love with it, it doesn't really matter what I think is the best version anymore. It's kind of like now I've given an expectation to somebody else, and to them, it's probably a lot more valuable than to me. I can go back and open the project and manipulate it forever, but they have one version. And I've been on the other side of that where I'm the fan and I've heard an early demo version of a song, then I've waited for the release version, and the dopamine decline is just obvious, you know? And yeah, so I try to just, whatever I put out there, I just keep it there and I say, hey, you know what? Like, we put it out like this, accept it, they accept it, it's done, next song, please move on, you know? That's it.
One thing I really love is that I feel like you really think about what it's like to be a fan as well. Like you said, when you put out the F Plus sample pack, that, you know, you put some drops on there because if you were listening to Travis Scott or you were listening to some artist that you were a huge fan of, if they put some encouraging drops or some motivational stuff in there, then like that would have encouraged you as a young producer to like keep going. And I think there's been many times, even when you drop stuff on SoundCloud and then you put little comments, it's like it feels like you're really speaking to people, or you really didn't lose touch with like what it's like to be like a fan of an artist as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like I'll forever be like that kid at home just listening to music on the phone, you know? I don't even go to as many shows as I should. So I feel like the connection between me and somebody who's just dealing with stuff and being alone and using their phone as therapy or music as therapy, I feel like that's something I can always understand no matter like how far I go in my life. Because that's something I do every day, I think. Just be alone and sit there and listen to music.
Was there anything that you did or that you could recommend to people who are putting up their tapes and their releases like DIY on SoundCloud that kind of helped you get more fans or get noticed or like even become a part of like a community that people were checking for your stuff?
I would say if anyone's looking at me for inspiration, this is like a 10-year process that I've been still investing in. There's been a lot of downtime. There's been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of doubt. There's been slow times. There's all that. I think it's a lot of perseverance and just not watching the pot too much. It's also engaging with your fan base, what's already there for you. I think a lot of people should definitely like remember that too. The people who are already there for you probably go a lot harder for you than some new people that don't know you. So I think that's important. I think gauging your success on other people's success is super detrimental. Like you shouldn't do that, especially early on, because you'll just be looking for greater results without the time, unless you have the money to put into it. If you're just going to be at home and you're going to be doing it by yourself, yeah, just give yourself patience. One step at a time. That's it. Just don't give up. You can't give up. That's it.
I feel like in looking at your SoundCloud, it's kind of interesting to me because it feels like you almost got more real and more raw over time.
Yeah, I think over time, I think one thing that got better with me was my ability to get the ideas out how I imagine them. So now I feel like I have a little more to play with. I can be a little more dangerous, but also hit the mark on what I want to do. But also too, I feel like I'm at a point in my career where it's just like nobody cares. Like I think before I was like, oh, this person's watching and this person and just expectations and little things like that. And now my whole idea is just nobody cares until they care. But until that happens, I can't care. My only concern is just putting it out. If they like it, they like it. I love creating stuff and dropping stuff. At the end of the day, it's like a big experiment. It's nice to not have to play by the rules. I think it's also a blessing though. Just how I made stuff happen and the people I've met through the whole journey, I think have given me the ability to do what I'm doing now. I think what I'm doing is a pretty good display of like what happens when you just want to do things because you just purely want to do them. I've pretty much said no to a lot of things that I just don't feel like doing even sometimes, you know, and it's a blessing to be able to choose. I'm a huge fan of SoundCloud. I don't think I would be Che without SoundCloud because I was just Che without thinking about it. SoundCloud didn't make me think about it. It just let me put it out there and let me be myself. And I need to get it tatted. I swear. I love the freedom. That's it.
I wanted to ask about your Pain Pack series and the Pleasure Pack. And do you view those differently than the other, let's say, album releases that you put out?
I think Pain Pack is like a super, like, I think those are songs where I really wanted to say something so bad that I didn't care about the rest of the process where I had to perfect everything. It was just more like, I have a feeling, I have a message, and I just want somebody to hear it other than my own conscious. If there's like a scale of like attributes, it would just be like emotions, not like if it's harmonically correct and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bunch of me just like complaining about things I don't like. And yeah, it's a big emo vibes, but I think that's part of who I am. I think that those tapes stand for the side of me that I wouldn't just recommend to like the average person. I wouldn't tell like a fan of a fan, like, hey, maybe your friend will like this or whatever. But again, this is why like I have to step away from the table sometimes because that's my perception of myself. in somebody else's eyes that I don't even know. These are my own predictions because funny enough, there's a few songs off those tapes that went a lot bigger than the stuff that I would recommend to the next person. So I think off top, I go for my prettier records. Those tapes are just they're just not as clean, but they are appreciated. I'm thankful for that.
Speaking about some records that are kind of like different in your catalog, I love this song Towels off the Pleasure Pack. And just like that pack in general has a lot of different beats that maybe aren't like what people expect from you, or like there's like kind of like a more like straight up pop song, and like Towels is super raw and like bouncy. And but anyway, on that song, you're talking about how you can't mess with this girl because or a set of girls because their towels are bad. Can you tell me a little bit more about, the perfect towel, and also like, have you really cut off a girl because her towels were not the appropriate texture?
I can't lie. I was with one girl at the time when I wrote that song. I remember because you could hear like she was making food in the background. You could hear like the sauteing going on. But no, I used to live next to like a Bed Bath and Beyond, and like I don't really play about that stuff sometimes. Like I had a super sensitive skin, and I think we just went to Bed Bath and Beyond. We're looking at the Egyptian cotton and stuff, and there's thread count, and like yeah, that it does matter at the end of the day. Even sleeping on satin, I heard is better for you. There's like little things you can do to improve your sleep. So yeah, I'm kind of a bougie dude. I'm not too bougie. Like I wouldn't really stop talking to somebody. But honestly, if the relationship wasn't that deep and I just met you, and like if the girl has like a Louis V bag, but like we're sleeping on like some really cheap stuff, I'd definitely scratch my head and be like, man, like your priorities kind of crazy.
Are there songs or projects that you have just chosen to drop on SoundCloud and not put up on the other streaming services? And how do you choose what those are, or why SoundCloud only versus putting it up everywhere?
When I first started working with my manager, we had a big disagreement at first. For the first year, I kept trying to like turn the streaming services into SoundCloud, whereas I'd give a song and I'd be like, hey, can we get this out in 2 weeks or something? Um, Again, this was like a new transition for me because I'm used to just saying how I feel, letting it be out, and boom. So now I have like feelings that I'm thinking about for over 2 weeks and letting go in my head and applying different meanings and like imagining it to different ears. Using SoundCloud just lets me completely avoid all that. If something does go on SoundCloud and stays there and doesn't go anywhere else, it's probably something I'm a little more risky about. I know this one song I posted called, so there's I'm Fine, there's Just Fine. Just Fine is a little bit different of a genre than I think like most of my fans are used to. And I feel like I've noticed like people on SoundCloud would be a lot more accepting, of like all the genres I like. SoundCloud just doesn't have the limitations of other places. I can replace the file instantly. I could change the artwork. I could send it to this person. I can post on my story and I get the digital thing and it's spinning already. So I like all that. It just helps me paint a big canvas, like how I'm feeling right now.
How do you use the back end of SoundCloud for organization?
Before every release, we'll usually have a queue of how we want the track listing to go. For this last project, my manager did the track listing, which came out really, really well, if you ask me. Yeah, we'll basically go from there, and then we can test out like different album covers and different art just to see how it looks, and just get that playthrough. Most of the time, all my files are just bounced in folders, so if I'm going to listen to them, they're not going to be automatically played or anything. We'll put stuff up there just to preview how it sounds together, what it looks like as a project, and sometimes just to share ideas without having to post them otherwise or elsewhere. I love seeing like the comments play as I watch the song play, and I see what everybody says, or even like the moments where I've said like something really funny, somebody will go and say it again, and then it tells me as like the artist, like, okay, cool, I love that line, and when I was writing it, it made me smile. I'm glad somebody else felt that. I can't see that anywhere else. I love to see that. I love to see the feedback. It's always sick. And it's also dope too. Like when you have a lot of comments, it keeps moving. So you're not even sitting there long enough to like digest it as like a YouTube comment where you read it for too long and you're sitting there thinking like, damn, I really must suck then. Like, nah, like it's the next one, and the next one's usually cool and supportive. So it's like, it's the healthy form of feedback. Like, yes, love it. Love the SoundCloud comments. Definitely something like I always look forward to when I post.
I know you work a lot on your own, but I think a lot of new fans came to you through your collabs with Bryson Tiller on Slum Tiller Volume 3 and on Calypso. What can you tell me about working with him and kind of what you got out of those experiences, or how you maybe made something different or thought about it different because you were working as a collaboration versus just your own solo stuff?
Working with him is like a crazy thing because he believes in me so much, and he's been believing in me before I even think I was believing in myself. I feel like I deal with a lot of imposter syndrome, which is also related to the band on my IG, but it does happen in my real life too. And he's always had a vision for me before I've seen it myself. Working with him is cool. It's just like a surprise most of the time. I'm like, wow, like I didn't know you like that, or I didn't know this was that sick. I look up to him crazy. And I think when I first started my career, he was like all I listened to. Like I remember getting in a car crash listening to him before, like, so yeah, that was crazy to actually get to work with one of the people who inspires you so much is sick. He just puts me in a place to believe in myself and try to reach limits that I didn't think I could achieve. And I think that's what happened with Calypso. That song was a lot of fun. And before I'd written that song, I told myself, and one of the producers I'd worked with alongside on that record, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna write the best song ever. And I came back in like 3 hours and like it was done. And I think that confidence might have helped me there. But yeah, I think that's the confidence he's been trying to instill in me since I met him.
What advice would you give to an up and coming artist who's just like getting in the studio for the first time, or being able to collaborate with somebody that, like, this is like their dream to get in the studio with so and so for the first time? Like, is there anything you recommend people prepare, or like a mind state, or anything else that you feel like could help somebody?
Yeah, I think one of my like studio rules universally is just to have fun. Once you start doing that, you're at ease. You're also enjoying the process when you're having fun. You're not thinking too much about the task at hand if there is one. Yeah, I've been in a lot of rooms and like things have gotten pretty serious at times, and I've noticed like I kind of disassociate when things get too serious because I feel like whether the need or the use is worth me putting the effort and the stress in, I just get to a point where I just kind of like, what am I doing? Like, I know how to do what I do. The one common factor between everything I've done and like a good song is just I've had fun with it. I love to take my time and just literally make bad things. Like sometimes I try to make a bad song and I'll make a really good song, but I'll go out of my way to make a bad one first. Like I lower my expectations. I just kind of let myself breathe. And yeah, you let the paint just paint itself basically.
A lot of your songs are really sexy, and I found myself wondering if you're just always in a sexy mind state, or if you think about how the songs are going to be received when you're writing them. I feel like you gravitate towards that material, and also that's like what a lot of your fans really like love. Yeah, how does that come together?
I think like again, like one of my super big inspirations too was The Weeknd, and a lot of his songs were kind of the same vibe. So there's something probably going on when I was enjoying his music. I feel like a lot of that stuff is subconscious, but at the same time, I also know like my way with words and stuff, and I can make something sound really stupid and funny, but also like freaky, I guess. But yeah, and there's like some humility in there too, because like I'm just not afraid to say things, and like that stuff kind of just happens. But I do love a sexy sounding song. It hits different. It's definitely good for certain moods too, certain times. Those songs just might have been so impactful to me growing up that I might have just said, hey, you know what? Like, this is what I consider good music when I can feel it like through all types of ways. There's probably some like chakra stuff in there that I don't know about that I'm not consciously thinking about. Again, a lot of it is it's just fun. It's so fun. And it's funny too. Cause I feel like sometimes it's awkward to talk about that stuff, but like we grown at this point. So
I was just wondering about the evolution of your production style, and specifically where you're at right now, like what you're thinking about when you're actually like producing the music, mixing your vocals, etc.
so as far as like where things have gotten from before, I did dedicate a lot of time to just brushing up on stuff. I spent a lot of time on YouTube. Nick Mira, he streams a lot. He gives a lot of advice. He gives artists tips on how to beat block, inspiration block. Basically, just explains that it's just kind of a myth, and you just need to keep practicing. Basically, in 2017, and I think till the last 2 years, I was only limited by my computer. So literally, like since I got my M1 Max, like I've been able to use multiple plugins on tracks and Ableton. There's just a bunch of things I can like use now that don't overload the CPU that can give me like a world of brand new sounds. I love Travis Scott's post production and his audios. All his post stuff. His songs specifically, My Eyes, they have some crazy type of effect I can't even understand. I think for a while I was just Googling and searching. I'm like, what did you guys do to get this sound? I couldn't find it. I guess I'll drop a hint here right now too. So when it comes to mixing my vocals, something I started doing the last year, there's a plugin that they use, I guess, for like horror movies and stuff like that. So I've been incorporating that with some of my mixes now to give me like a different voice and also kind of just bring me to a new world in a way. I could get technical with like LFOs and all that stuff, but regardless, it's just like a whole manipulator. I think it's actually called manipulator, the plugin. But yeah, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of panning. Like my vocal, I used to use a certain plugin. I used to use CLA vocals, and I used to put the stereo plugin for a widened effect. But now I'll do it my own way because there's less color on it. Yeah, I sought out to get the best microphone that I could, and I got a C100 G now. So with that, I just pan and build harmonies, and that's just been like butter, you know? So I'm trying to get to a point where I can still be as raw, but also come off in like a commercial sense.
How did you initially meet 30, and how has that creative relationship working so closely with the same person, like engineering and mixing, helped your output or helped your artistry?
When I had moved to LA, I was hanging out with my homie Isaiah, and through Isaiah, I had met 30. I think I walked into a room one day, um, and I didn't know who anybody was. I was just smoking weed and had my hood on. I'm just still fresh here. It was just Isaiah and I, and yeah, I wasn't the most social dude, I guess, that day. So I just had my hoodie on. I was smoking and I was keeping to myself. But yeah, fast forward, like that's my like best friend now. You know, we spent a lot of time together, especially in the studio. I think he mixed a couple of my records probably early on. That's how I met him. First day I actually was around him, I didn't even really know who he was, and next thing you know, like he's a part of my discography. You know, he's on like every song. So, and I also believe in like just investing with the people that you appreciate because there were definitely like miscommunications and different things that we struggled with first. But over the years and over just time, I was like, you know what? Like, I really like who he is as a person. And I'd rather go through these little things that we're hearing and just, you know, get it to the point where he understands my ear as much as I understand his. And then that's it, you know? I'd rather just work with the same person that I value than keep jumping around and doing all that. It's going to be super inconsistent. And I've even done that. You know, when you go to different studios, you get a different engineer. And for me, I like my lows in the right places. I like my highs very high. So that's when 30 will step in at some of the sessions and be like, yeah, I'll take care of this and, you know, get me right. But yeah, that'll mess up my creative process a lot. If my voice isn't coming in right, I can't really believe in the idea as well.
What are some genres that you haven't done yet that you want to do?
For right now, I think I'd probably just fully dive into the ones that I've already tried a little bit. So like songs like Peppermint, I'd love to have like a huge body work of that. I think there's definitely like a place and time for music like that. I'd love to do jazz. That would be sick. Uh, love to do some real dance hall, like from my roots, and then also from my other side too, like uh, some zouk, because that's like from my Haitian side. And honestly, there's a lot of inspiration that goes into my music from that genre too.
Do you have a favorite way or favorite place to listen to music?
It's not my favorite, but naturally, I listen to a lot of music off my cell phone now. I don't know if it's helpful or not because I'm basically choosing to cut out a lot of the lower frequencies, but it gives me some type of idea on what I think is important about a song. I think my most favorite way ever to listen to music is probably with just Beats headphones. Like I've had these one pair for I think since I moved to LA or a couple years after, over 5 years for sure. And they're worn in so much. I produce basically everything off these and I've recorded myself off these. I don't record without these. Those are my favorite things to use to listen to music. They sound great, but you can feel them like really, really tough. So yeah, even last week, I've been going through stuff. I've been having a crazy month. I put these on and I was listening to Rihanna and I had a good cry. I cannot lie. Very relaxing, very therapeutic.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you said before that the new project was kind of designed for drives, and then I was listening to some of your other tracks, and I thought I would listen to this on headphones.
I had a moment where I was kind of paranoid of like low frequencies, especially just kicks. I was living in apartments for a long time and just really was trying to stray from noise complaints. You know, I really, once you get a knock at your door, it's like, hey, we see you. We're going to expect more noise from you. So at that point, I basically am getting like my whole rent is kind of just on the fritz now because it's like I know why I'm here. They know why I'm here. And now I'm like being watched. So I never actually got a noise complaint for a long time. And I switched to speakers that have paper cones rather than like Kevlar or whatever. So they don't vibrate as much. But yeah, I basically thought about it, but I wouldn't do a whole album like that. There's just a few songs I feel like that are very soft and you can be played multiple times that just don't have any of that. So you can just enjoy it in like those settings where you need to be kind of quiet. So sometimes just quiet music.
So now that you've released On My Way, what have you got coming out next? What's your general mind state right now that On My Way has come out?
I've been trying to work on the next thing a lot. I think I'm probably still in that period of like listening and enjoying it though. I've been trying to just live life a little more and just rack up some real experiences. No, I'm definitely in a weird place because like the reception of this album has been really well. And like for this year, I'm basically treating music like the gym. If I'm not shooting and I'm not dropping, I'm just gonna lose the muscle. And I've been losing muscle since quarantine, I feel like, because that's when I was on my hot streak of dropping like three of them. I'm in a place right now where I'm blessed enough to wake up and have the opportunity to make music. So there's no labels telling me I can't do it. There's no distributor telling me I can't do it. I don't have people in my life telling me I can't do it. I'm not telling myself I can't do it. So literally, I think as much as possible this year, I should be just letting these ideas fly out.
That's so dope. Well, it's been a blessing to talk to you, and thank you so much for joining us here on Sound Advice.
Thank you for having me.